Good morning, class. So this week we are wrapping up Wonder, and we are reading pages 231 to 248. So let's begin. And I will try and read louder. My throat is acting up. It is cold season, so I apologize. The ending. The play was so amazing. I don't want to give away the ending, but it's the kind of ending that makes people in the audience teary. Mom totally lost it when Via, as Emily said, "Goodbye, goodbye, world. Goodbye, Governor's Corner. Mama, Papa, goodbye to the clocks ticking, and Mama Sunflower, and the food, and coffee, and new iron dresses, and hot baths, and sleeping and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful, and everyone, for anybody to realize you." Via was actually crying while she was saying this, like real tears. I could see them rolling down her cheek. It was totally awesome. After the curtain closed, everyone in the audience started clapping. Then actors came out one by one. Via and Justin were the last ones out. When they appeared, the whole audience rose to their feet. "Bravo!" I heard Dad yelling with his hands. Why is everyone getting up?" I said. "It's a standing ovation," said Mom, getting up. I also got up and clapped, and I clapped until my hands hurt. For a second, I imagined how cool it would be to be Via and Justin right then, having all those people standing up and cheering for them. I think there should be a rule that everyone in the world should get a standing ovation at least once in their life. Finally, after I don't know how many minutes, the line of actors on stage stepped back and the curtains closed in front of them. The clapping stopped, the lights went up, and the audience started getting up to leave. Me, Mom, and Dad made our way backstage. Crowds of people congratulating the performers surrounding them, patting them on the back. We saw Via and Justice at the center of the crowd, smiling to everyone and laughing and talking. "Via!" shouted Dad, waving as he made his way through the crowd. When he got close enough, he hugged her and lifted her off the floor. "You're amazing, sweetheart!" "Oh my God, Via!" Mom was screaming with excitement. "Oh my God, oh my God!" She was hugging Via so hard, I thought Via would suffocate, but Via was laughing. "You're brilliant," said Dad. "Brilliant," Mom said, and nodding and shaking her head at the same time. "And you, Justin," Dad said, shaking Justin's hand and giving him a hug at the same time. "You're fantastic." "Fantastic," Mom repeated. She was honestly so emotional she could barely talk. "What a shock to see you up there, Via," said Dad. "Mom didn't recognize you at first." "I didn't recognize you," Mom said. Mom's repeating Dad a lot. Her hand over her mouth. "Miranda got sick right before the show started," and Via, all out of breath. There wasn't even time to make an announcement. I have to say she looked kind of strange because she was wearing all this makeup that I've never seen her like this before. "And you just stepped right in there last minute?" said Dad. "Wow. She's amazing, wasn't she, Justin?" said Justin, his arms around Via. There wasn't a dry eye in the house," said Dad. "Is Miranda okay?" I said, but no one heard me. At that moment, a man, who I think was a teacher, came over to Justin and Via, clapping his hands. "Bravo, bravo, Olivia and Justin." He kissed both on the cheek. I flubbed a couple of lines," said Via, shaking her head. "But you got through it," the man said, smiling ear to ear. "Mr. Davenport, these are my parents," said Via. "These are my parents. You must be proud of your girl," he said, shaking their hands. "We both are. And this is my little brother, August," said Via. He looked like he was about to say something, but suddenly he froze when he looked at me. "Mr. D," said Justin, pulling him by the arm, "come meet my mom." Via was about to say something to me, but then someone else came over and started talking to her. Before I knew it, I was kind of alone in the crowd. I mean, I knew where Mom and Dad were, but there there were so many people around us, and people kept bumping into me and spinning me around and giving me that 1-2 look, which made me feel kind of bad. I don't know if it's because I was feeling hot or something, but I kind of started getting dizzy. People's faces were blurring in my head. Their voices were so loud it was almost hurting my ears. I tried to turn the volume down on my Lobo ears, but I got confused and turned them up, which kind of shocked me. And then I looked up and I didn't see Mom or Dad or Via. Via, I yelled out. I started pushing through the crowd. Find Mom. Mommy! I really couldn't see anything but people's stomachs and ties around me. Mommy! Suddenly someone picked up behind me. Look who's here, said a familiar voice, hugging me tight. I thought it was Via at first, but then I turned around and it completely surprised me. Hey, Major Tom, she said. Miranda! I answered and I gave her the tightest hug I could. All right. Part 7, Miranda. So now we're going to hear from Miranda's side. I forgot I might see so many beautiful things. I forgot I might need to find out what life could bring. Aiden, beautiful things. Camp lines. My parents got divorced this summer before 9th grade. My father was with someone else right now. In fact, though my mother never said so, I think this was the reason they got divorced. After the divorce, I hardly saw my father, and my mother acted stranger than ever. It was not that she was unable or anything, just distant. Remote. My mother is the kind of person who was happy-faced for the rest of the world, but not a lot left over for me. She never talked much about her feelings, her life. I don't know much about what she was like at my age. I don't know much about the things she liked or didn't like. The few times she mentioned her own parents, who I've never met, it was mostly about how she wanted to get far away from them as she could once she'd grown up. She never told me why. I'd ask a few times, but she pretended she didn't hear me. Or she hadn't heard me. I didn't want to go to camp that summer, but I wanted to stay with her to help her through the divorce, but she insisted I go away. I figured she wanted some alone time, so I gave it to her. Camp was awful. I hated it. I thought it would be better being a junior counselor, but it wasn't. No one I knew from the previous year had come back, so I didn't know anyone. Not a single person. I'm not even sure why I started playing this little make-believe game with the girls in the camp. They asked me stuff about myself, and I'd make things up. My parents are in Europe, I told them. I live in a huge townhouse in the nicest street in North River Heights. I have a dog named Daisy. Then one day I blurted out that I had a little brother who was deformed. I have absolutely no idea why I did this. It just seemed like an interesting thing to say. Of course, the reaction I got from the little girls in the bungalow was so dramatic. Really? So sorry. That must be tough, etc., etc. I regretted saying this at the moment. It escaped my lips, of course. I felt like such a fake. If Via ever found out, I thought she'd think that I was such a weirdo. And I felt like a weirdo. But I have to admit, there's a part of me that felt a little entitled to this lie. I've known August since I was 6 years old. I watched him grow up and play with him. I've watched all 6 episodes of Star Wars for his sake. So I could talk about the aliens, bounty hunters, and all of that. I'm the one who gave him the astronaut helmet he wouldn't take off for 2 years. I mean, I've kind of earned the right to think of him as my brother. The strangest thing is, these lies I told, these fictions did wonder for my popularity. The other junior counselors heard it from the campers, and they were all over it. Never in my life have I ever been considered the popular girls or anything, but summer of camp, for whatever reason, I was the girl everybody wanted to hang out with. Even the girls in Bungalow 32 were totally into me. These were the girls at the top of the food chain. They said they liked my hair, though they changed it. They said they liked what I did to my makeup, though they changed that too. They showed me how to turn my t-shirt into a halter top. We smoked. Not good. We snuck out late at night and took paths through the woods into the camp and hung out with boys. That doesn't sound like a good group of friends. When I got home from the camp, I called Ella right away to make plans with her. I don't know why I didn't call Via. I guess I just didn't feel like talking about stuff with her. She would have asked me about my parents, about camp. Ella never asked me about things. She was an easier friend to have in that way. She wasn't serious like Via. She was fun. She thought it was cool when I dyed my hair pink. She wanted to hear all about those trips through the woods late at night. School. I hardly saw Via at school this year. When I did, it was awkward. I felt like she was judging me. I knew she didn't like my new look. I knew she didn't like my group of friends. I didn't like hers either. We never actually argued. We just drifted away. Ella and I badmouthed her to each other. She was such a prude. She's so this, she's so that. We knew we were being mean, but it was easier to ice her out than pretend she had done something to us. The truth is she hadn't changed at all. We had become these other people. And she was still this person she'd always been. That annoyed me so much. I don't know why. Once in a while, I'd look to see where she was sitting in the lunchroom or check the electives list to see if she'd sign up for. But except for a few nods in the hallway and occasional hello, we never really spoke to each other. I noticed Justin about halfway through the school year. I hadn't noticed him at all before, other than he was a skinny, cutish dude with thick glasses and longish hair who carried a violin everywhere. Then one day I saw him in front of the school with his arms around Via. So Via has a boyfriend? I said to Ella, kind of mocking. I don't know why it was a surprise to me that she'd have a boyfriend. Out of the three of us, she was the total prettiest. Blue eyes, long, wavy, dark hair. But she said she never acted like she was at all interested in boys. She acted like she was too smart for that kind of stuff. I had a boyfriend too. Guy named Jack. When I told him I was choosing theater elective, he shook his head and said, "Be careful you don't turn into one of those drama geeks." Not the most sympathetic dude in the world, but very cute, very high up on the totem pole. A varsity jock. I wasn't planning on taking theater at first. Then I saw Via's name on the sign-up sheet, and I wrote my name down on the list. I don't know why. We managed to avoid each other throughout the semester, like we didn't even know each other. Then one day I got to theater class a little early, and Davenport asked me to run additional copies for the play he was planning on having us do for the spring production, The Elephant Man. I heard about it, but I didn't really know what it was about, so I started skimming through the pages while I was waiting for the Xerox machine. It was about a man who lived more than 100 years ago named John Merrick, who was terribly deformed. "We can't do this play, Mr. D," I told him when I got back to class. I told him why. My little brother had a birth defect and was deformed and has a deformed face. This play would hit too close to home. He seemed annoyed and a little unsympathetic. But I kind of said my parents would have a real issue with the school for doing this play. So anyway, he ended up switching to our town. I think I went for the role of Emily Gibbs because I knew Via was going for it too. It never occurred to me that I'd beat her for the role. What I miss most. One of the things I miss most about Via's friendship is her family. I love her mom and dad. They're the most welcoming and nice to me. I knew they loved their kids more than anything. I always felt safe around them. Safer anywhere else, safer than anywhere else in the world. How pathetic that I felt safer in someone else's house than I did my own, right? And of course, I loved Augie. I was never afraid of him. Even when I was little, I had friends that couldn't believe I'd go over to Via's house. His face creeps me out, they say. You're stupid, I tell them. Augie's face isn't so bad once you get used to it. I called Via's house once to say hello to Augie. Maybe part of me was hoping that Via would answer. I don't know. Hey, Major Tom, I said, using my nickname for him. Miranda! He sounded so happy to hear my voice, it actually kind of took me by surprise. I'm going to regular school now, he told me excitedly. Really? Wow, I said, totally shocked. I guess I never thought he'd go to regular school. His parents have always been so protective of him. I guess, sorry guys, I need water, my throat's killing me. I guess I thought he'd always be that little kid in the astronaut helmet I gave him. Talking to him, I could tell he had no idea that Via and I weren't close anymore. It's different in high school, I explained to him. You end up hanging out with loads of different people. I have some friends in my new school, he told me. A kid named Jack and a girl named Summer. That's awesome, Augie, I said. Well, I was just calling to tell you I miss you and I hope that you're having a good year. Feel free to call me whenever you want, okay, Augie? You know I love you always. I love you too, Miranda. Say hi to Via for me. Tell her I miss her. I will. Bye. Bye. Extraordinary, but no one is there to see. Neither my mother nor my father could see the play on opening night. My mother, because she had to work, had this thing at work, and my dad, because his new wife was going to have a baby any second now, and he had to be on call. Jack couldn't come opening night either. He had a volleyball game against Collegiate he couldn't miss. In fact, he wanted me to miss opening night so that I could cheer on him. My friends all went to the game, of course, because their boyfriends were playing. Even Ella didn't come, giving me a choice to choose. She chose the crowd. So opening night, no one was there that even remotely close to me. Not close to me was even there. And one thing I realized in my third or fourth rehearsal that I was good at this acting thing. I felt the part. I understood the words I spoke. I read the lines as if they were coming from my brain and my heart. And opening night, I could honestly say I knew I was going to be more than good. I was going to be great. I was going to be extraordinary. But there was no one there to see. We were all backstage, nervously running our lines in our head. I peeked through the curtains at people taking their seats in the auditorium. That's when I saw Augie walking down the aisle with Isabel and Nate. They took 3 seats in the 5th row near the middle. Augie was wearing a bow tie, looking around excitedly. He had grown up a bit since I last seen him a year ago. His hair was shorter, and he was wearing some kind of hearing aids now. His face hadn't changed a bit. Davenport was running through some last-minute changes with a set director. I saw Justin pacing off stage left, mumbling his lines nervously. Mr. Davenport, I said, surprising myself as I spoke. I'm sorry, but I can't go on tonight. Davenport turned around slowly. What? I'm sorry. Are you kidding me? I muttered, looking down. I don't feel well. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm going to throw up. This was a lie. It's just last minute jitters. No, I can't do it. I'm telling you. Davenport looked furious. Miranda, this is outrageous. I'm sorry. Davenport took a deep breath, like he was trying to restrain himself. To be truthful, I thought he looked like he was going to explode from his forehead, turning bright pink. Miranda, this is absolutely unacceptable. Now take a few deep breaths, and I'm not going on, I said loudly, and the tears came out my face fairly easy. Fine, he screamed, looking at me. Then he turned to a kid named David, who was a set decorator. Decorator. Go find Olivia in the lighting booth. Tell her she's filling in for Miranda tonight. What? Said David, who wasn't too swift. Go! Shouted Davenport in his face. Now! The other kids had caught on to what was happening and gathered around. What's going on? Said Justin. Last minute change of plans, said Davenport. Miranda doesn't feel good. I feel sick. I was trying to sound sick. So why are you still here? He said to me angrily. Stop taking off your costume. Stop talking. Take off your costume and give it to Olivia, okay? Come on, everybody, let's go. I ran backstage to the dressing room quickly as I could and started peeling off my costume. 2 seconds later, there was a knock. Via half opened the door. What's going on? She said. Hurry up, put it on, I answered, handing her the dress. You're sick? Yeah, hurry up. Via looked stunned, took her t-shirt and her jeans and pulled the long dress over her head. I pulled it down for her and zipped up the back. Luckily, Emily Webb didn't go on until 10 minutes into the play. So the girl handling hair and makeup had time to put Via's hair up and twist it and do a quick makeup job. I never seen Via with a lot of makeup on. She looked like a model. I'm not sure I'll remember the lines, Via said, looking at herself in the mirror. Your lines. You'll be great, I said. She looked at me in the mirror. Why are you doing this, Miranda? Olivia, said Davenport. Hush, shouting from the door. You're on in 2 minutes. You're on in 2 minutes. It's now or never. Via followed him out the door. So I never got a chance to answer her question. I don't know what I would have said. Anyways, I wasn't sure what the answer was. The performance. I watched the rest of the play in the wings just off stage next to Davenport. Justin was amazing. Via in a heartbreaking last scene was awesome. There was this one line she flubbed a bit, but Justin covered for her, and no one in the audience even noticed. I heard Davenport mutter under his breath, good, good, good. He was more nervous than all of the students put together. The actors, the set decorators, and lighting team. Sorry guys, I have a bad mosquito bite. Lighting team and guys handling the curtains. Davenport was a wreck, frankly. The only time I felt any regret, if you could even call it that, was at the end of the play when everyone was out for their curtain calls. Via and Justin were the last actors walking out on stage, and the audience rose to their feet when Justin and Via took a bow. That, I admit, was a little bittersweet for me. But just a few minutes later, I headed to Nate and Isabel and August to make their way. I saw Nate and Isabel and Augie make their way backstage, and they all seemed happy. Everyone was congratulating the actors, patting them on the back. It was crazy backstage theater mayhem, where sweaty actors stand euphoric while people come worship them for a few seconds in that crush of people. I noticed Augie looking kind of lost. I cut through the crowd as fast as I could to help him. I came up behind. I said, hey, I said, Major Tom, after the show. I can't say why I was so happy to see August again after so long, or how good it felt when he hugged me. I can't believe how big you've gotten, I said to him. I thought you were going to be in the play, he said. I wasn't up for it, he said. But Via was great, don't you think? He nodded. 2 seconds later, Isabel found us. Miranda, she said happily, giving me a kiss on the cheek, and then to August, don't ever disappear like that again. You're the one who disappeared, Augie answered back. How are you feeling? Isabel said to me. Via told us you got sick. Much better, I answered. Is your mom here? Said Isabel. No, she had work stuff to do. So it's actually not a big deal for me, I said truthfully. We have 2 more shows anyway. Though I don't think I'll be as good at Emily as Via tonight. Nate came over and we basically had the same exact conversation. Then Isabel said, "Look, we're going to have a late night dinner to celebrate the show. Are you up for joining us? We'd love to have you." "Oh no," I started to say. "Please," said Augie. "I should go home," I said. "We insist," said Nate. By now, Via and Justin had come over with Justin's mom, and Via put her arm around me. "You're definitely coming," she said, smiling, her old smile at me. They started leading me out of the crowd, and I have to admit, for the first time in a very, very long time, I felt happy. Okay, guys, we are going to pause here. Remember, like always, check out that discussion post and answer the questions, and I will see you in class. Bye, guys.